are here with another episode of Smoking Section Podcast, and we have here a good friend of mine, Miss Shaylen. How
Hello.
are you, darling?
You know what? Unhinged, unwell, but I'm fine. I'm like myself, just lovely human being that I am. I stay up till like I when I get on a song idea and I know I'm like, oh, this is a good one. I stayed up till like 5:30. No, I had to get up at 7. And I have this freaking Fitbit thing on that it literally is like sleep score, very poor. And I'm like, okay, I'm aware. Well, yeah, no, she's mad at me today.
Yeah, that's why I don't wear my watch during the night.
See, I actually like this thing, which there's a funny story behind why I'm even wearing it, but it's actually very insightful.
So
So
tell me, why are you wearing it?
so funny. My lovely counterpart of a human that I'm dating, he when he does not sleep, that's a different. He already deals with like kind of insomnia.
Yeah.
So which I don't, I'm the person that I sit down, I'm like, so like I can fall asleep. He like up until like 5 a.m. is awake and then finally falls asleep. And like if there's so many days in a row that he hasn't slept, it is like I don't know who that is or if they should be in like the public because it's a scary person.
I've seen him wired. Like,
Okay, so you've never seen him tired. Uh,
no.
and I have to deal with it. Well, this particular day, I'm the girl that will set 5 alarms, but I'll keep pressing snooze until I have to get up. Well, there was one day that he had not slept and he got up after I'd hit the alarm like 6 times and he just silently walks into the bathroom. And I'm like, and I just hear like things being thrown. And I'm like, hmm. And I walk in there and he's literally throwing towels because he's so mad. Like a grown man throwing towels in the bathroom. And I'm walking in there at 8:30 being like, and I was like, are you throwing towels? He's like, don't you laugh at me. And I was like, okay, cool. So I go downstairs, I take the dogs out, I'm just sitting outside and he like goes outside and he looks at the dog and he's like, I hate you. I hate you. He looks at me like and like he's like, I hate everything. And he gets in the car, just drives off to go get coffee. And I'm like, okay, that's how we're starting today. So I was like, I'm gonna get my car, let him cool down. He calls like an hour later. He's like, did I say I hate you? I was like, you did. You did. It was not nice, but it's fine. He goes, I don't remember saying that. I'm sorry. I apologize. He's like, but this seems to be a reoccurring thing in the relationship. So I figured out, I figured out how we're going to fix this and get past this. And I was like, okay. He's like, you'll be getting something in the mail. I was like, all right. I get in, like, the mail comes and freaking it's this. And he's like, so it silently buzzes on your arm to wake you up in that way you can wake up or like keep hitting it, but I won't hear it. And I was like, we love a self-aware king. We do. It was precious. But let me tell you, I almost thought about stabbing him one day because this thing was like, I was like, oh, this is great. Like it violently buzzes on your arm. I was like, great. The one day I needed it to go off. It was like I had a sound check for my first big show in Nashville, and the sound check was at 9 that morning, and I had it set. It didn't ring. So I wake up at like 10 and I'm like, oh, okay, oh my God. I look over and he's just like silently sleeping. And I was like, I'm gonna murder you. I'm going. I said, this is your fault if this show derails tonight. I was like, it's a stupid thing. And I was like, I hate you. So
Oh my God.
yes, this has been, which we had when I first got it, it was like a mustard yellow band. It was horrendous. And I was like, oh, it's so cute. So true Shaylen fashion, I had to go find like a band for it that I was like, I cannot. I walked into like a shoot and Jordan looked at it. She's like, what is that? And I was like, oh, it is as ugly as I thought. Okay. She goes, you look like you're gonna go drop your kids off at soccer or something. I was like, okay. So yep, my little Fitbit, she's thriving.
Listen. That I mean, that's love. That's love. Self-
Honestly, I'll take that over what I've had to deal with. I was like, if it's an alarm thing, fine.
yeah, yeah. So
So,
let's it will be crazy not to transition into this now, because your counterpart, Mr. Counter Matthews, is a co-writer on your latest single, to tell you the truth.
yes, he is.
Okay, how often do you, because you guys both of you guys are both badass songwriters. I've heard him for years. I've known him for years. So like I've heard his stuff for a long time. But you also written with Lindsay Rhymes and Seth Ennis on this. What was the day like when you guys decided, oh, let's write together?
Was funny because like him and I like I said, we keep everything very separate. Like we
Yeah,
support each other, but like it's never like we do our own thing at the end of the day. And if
yeah,
it works out, it works out. But it's never like, oh, I'm bringing this, like, you know what I mean? It's because that's a tricky territory. It is.
right,
But he's a hell of a songwriter. That's how I knew him in general. Like I've known him for years. We just happened to cross paths in Nashville like a year or two ago. And he listened to some, I demo jailed him at the beginning, and I was like, you're gonna listen to my stuff. Because we were just friends. We were literally both in a phase of life where I was like, I am not doing it relationships. I am focusing on me. He's like, same. And I was like, great. So we're like friends, we're having a great time, demo jail him. And he was like, honestly, you're actually pretty good. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take that as a compliment, rude. Um, but we were like laughing, and then we like there was one day where we just kind of were messing around and we're starting to write. And I was like, oh, you're actually really good. And he was like, I was like, huh. So we started writing just for fun, like because I I never like to like mess with dynamics of anything. And if
right,
it organically happens. Well, it was funny this day, because him and I had written a few times before that, and there was a camp being set up, and they had Seth, Lindsay, and Connor on the camp thing. And I was like, oh my God, we're writing together. And I think that was like our first official, like in a room with people, like wasn't just us writing. And what's funny is that day when I tell you I was literally on my deathbed from a kidney infection. And I was devastated because I was so excited. I already love Seth and Lindsay. And I was like so excited because I was like, I just feel like this combination in the room is going to be because it has a lot to do with the combo in the room. We all know that.
right,
And and just like I always feel like there's a reason why that day in particular, like it just sometimes like things are just kind of like the cosmic stars align and you're like so I was already excited and then I saw it and I like woke up and I was like I'm gonna die. Well, he picks me up. I'm like throwing up outside of Lindsay's house. I have a fever. I am dying. And like he's like, that's it. I'm taking you to the ER. This is crazy that you just won't go. And I was like, no. I was like, you don't know. Because my whole thing is like take every session, do everything that you can, because you never know what's gonna come after
right,
year later. You never know.
right.
I said, I'm not canceling. I'm not rescheduling. I was like, there's a reason that this day is happening, and you never know what this is going to be. And I was like, I feel like there's a song out there that it needs to be written. He's like, you're nuts. And I was like, I'm telling you, there's something from this song. So we get in there and we're talking about all the like, funny enough, he writes all these breakup things with me. And like, we'd both been in horrible relationships and phases. And so we both are like, we always just help each other write those chapters. And I'm like, this is hilarious. So we go in there and we're trying to figure out like the best way to be like, I miss you. Like, and we bounce back ideas. And then we were all like, is it so simple to be like, tell you the truth, I miss you, baby? And then Seth was like, are we gonna do crazy and baby rhyme scheme in the hook? And we were like, it feels okay. Because we usually try to avoid that. And
Yeah.
we did it. It was risky. And we're finished. I'm going back and forth and puking. I'm like in the corner, like, like I am dying. And at the end of it, I hear it back and I was like, I don't know if I'm crying because I'm in pain or like this make me feel something, but there's something with this song. And sure enough, like he was like, you're nuts. Like we leave the session, had a great day. And then a year later is my first song to come out on my first record deal. And I was like, see, it's freaking, I know it. He was like, honestly, I hate that you're right in this scenario. He's like, you're nuts. But like, I can't argue it. I was like, I told you. So honestly, I'm glad that it happened that way.
I mean, I mean, that's dedication because
I am nuts.
I,
Like if there's one thing that I will literally be on my deathbed, but I will show up and I will write a song and then I'll go figure it out.
Yeah,
Probably not a good thing.
that's not a good thing.
No,
There's boundaries has to be set.
there are boundaries, 100%. 100%.
Good Lord. So
Oh,
so how does it feel to have your first song released on your on this label? Because this is a label, when you think about it, this is a label that has discovered Taylor Swift. This is a label that has Tim McGraw on it. This is a label that had Florida Line on it. So this label has a legacy of its own.
oh yes. And let me tell you, because I've been on majors my whole life. I did the pop thing and I was embedded into my brain to think like it cannot work without a label from like a very young age, which back then a label was like if you had a label, you had like 50-50 shot of like because
Right.
it was social media wasn't driving it yet. Like so it was like a label was very important. And
Right.
then when I stepped away from that and I put all these out independent and I was like, oh my God, like let me figure out what I would say. Let me figure out the visuals like that I would do, which was very freeing and very like, at least I was like, if I put this song out and it does nothing, I could die by the fact that that was my choice, nobody else's.
Right.
So then I started like, obviously country and like radio, and there's like labels and all of that are very important. Whereas like, sir, sorry, this is Beans. I'm like, he's unhinged as well. But I was getting to that point of it and I was like, okay, like let's go meet. And I met everybody in this town. Everyone was lovely, but I was just like, it just for the first time, I was like, okay, let me, instead of like stars in my eyes, like let me feel what feels right. And it was funny because it kept always like the timelines or like something wasn't working out. I was like, okay, God, cool. Like and I went in because it was like that as an artist every day you're like my life is ending. I feel like I'm not relevant, blah blah blah. It's like dramatic. And I had like on this particular day like my phone got shut off, my Wi-Fi got shut off like I was like, "Oh, I'm overdrawn like and I'm trying to get ready for this meeting and I need my phone." And I was like, "I'm going to go in the lobby of my bathroom, turn on a sermon like and I'm listening and my song through my whole life is Amazing Grace and Proverbs 3:5. Well, they start off with Amazing Grace and then he starts going down Proverbs 3:5. And I'm like, okay, brother. And the day was it was February 22nd. And I just remember which 22 is my lucky number. It's when I put out What If I Don't on 22. Like it's a whole thing. And I'm really not the woo-woo girl, but I was like, yeah, that's a little weird things. And I was like, you know what, God, I'm in shambles today. I was like, if this is your will, I was like, make a movie scene happen. I don't know. Like get a deal on the spot. Like, and I was just like, but that doesn't happen. So it's fine if that doesn't. And we go to the meeting and I'm talking and Mr. Scott walks in and he's like, play me some songs. And I play him songs off my phone. And he was just like, listen, I think I've done this once, twice, like in my career. And he was like, like I specifically remember there's this girl, Taylor. And I was like, oh, T Swift, no big deal. He is like, but you're not walking out of here without us working together. And I was like, okay, so this is the movie scene. All right. Like it was wild. And we started talking for the next few months. And like, he was like, all right, like send me the songs. And I realized like at that year before I'd written in like 105, 106 songs that were like ready to put out at any moment. And I was just writing every day so that I was like, you never know. Like I said, you never know. So I take every write. Well, I had 106 songs that I didn't even know all together. So I was like, okay, I'm trying to condense them down. And I sent him a file and he's like, did you just send me like 60, 50 songs? I was like, yes, there's 50 more. But these are the ones. He's like, what? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, he was like, usually there's about one or two. And he was like, well, you have like 6 albums in here. He was like, and they're all like he got the vision. He loved it. Like Jimmy, everybody, like it's
Yeah.
just been such a dream to like work with people that are like, do what you're doing. Like, come here. Let us be like the ship over here. You do this, but like it's been such a dream, and it's so insightful to see like they really know what they're talking about, and I think the track record shows for that.
Yeah.
But the team itself and everybody, like anywhere from like the digital space to PR with Miss Shelby and all like in between, it's just like I'm like, oh, this is what this feels like. This is really cool. And they like the vision, everything. It's been really cool. He's like, you know who you are. And I'm like, I didn't for 15 years, but my God, I'm glad I do now.
How does that moment feel to you when you have someone like that saying to you, you know who you are? Because I like you clearly, for 15 years, people find themselves like this trying to discover their sounds.
Yes. And I
And
did.
yeah,
There was a point where I was telling somebody earlier, I was like, I was chasing, which I grew up on country. Like, it's really what I wanted to do originally, but fell into all these things where like it led me down pop. And like, I loved pop. I loved what I learned from the writing process and like got to go out to Korea, write K-pop. Like, but then there was a point in my career, like towards the end of being out in LA, that it got so bad that I was literally trying to promote my music with finger puppets online. And I was like, this is bad. This is not good. And it was always like, it was no one because I didn't know who I was. Everyone's like, ah, you look too Southern. You look too this. Let's do this with your hair. Let's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. So, like, sometimes you got to go chase 15 different versions of yourself just to go back to like who you really were. And like, that is enough. And I always tell people it's like you take a watch to a pawn shop that you know is worth $50,000. And the first 30 that you take it to only are like, here's 50. And you're like, nah, no, I know it's worth more. And then you finally take it somewhere else and they're like, I'll give you 100,000. And it's like I had to remove myself from a place that didn't see the value that, and it wasn't that they're bad people or anything. It was
right.
that sometimes you got to go somewhere else to see the value, to know that you're enough and you're the value and that that's magical. And you forget sometimes that it's your surroundings, it's the people, it's what you're doing. And it's like, hey, let me go back to what I know because that was enough. And I think when I walked into Nashville and everybody was so like welcoming and like I had no business being in some of the rooms, which I didn't know at the time, like that I was in the rooms with amazing people. But I was just like, okay, let me show up and do what I do best and write a song. Because they were all intended for other people at the time. I was told I was done as an artist, that my career was done. So I came out here, my first day and first session, I wrote What If I Don't? And I walked out because I knew I had to I was supposed to give the song away and pitch it. And I was stuck on a label and I was like, man, like I'm usually okay with people having my songs. And I was like, this one just feels like I'm supposed to sing it. And I'm glad that I listened to that little voice that was just like, go and pack up your bags. It's not that you're not failing. You're not, this isn't, you didn't fail. It was just prepping you to come here. And my God did it. Like it's been crazy, but I never knew how much I really did know myself. I was just always told by other people that you don't. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
That's one way. Wow. That's definitely a way of looking at it.
Yeah. It's
Definitely a way to
music
look at it.
industry. And nowadays, like everyone's like, no one knows really like what is happening every day. It's like a lottery
Right.
ticket. And it's like, but I think like there's a beautiful thing, and I think it's evident right now. And like the Zach Bryan's and stuff, it's like this raw, like people just want to feel something. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, a song is going to cut through if they're like if everything lines up and you can feel that in that emotion, like the song will speak for itself. I remember the day that I was sitting on the floor and I was just like, I'm so tired of trying to be a character on here. I'm going to eat blueberries. I'm not even going to say anything and just play the song. And for some reason, it worked. I don't know why.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing to think that way. It's amazing to it's almost a let go, let God.
You have to. And when I did, because I literally came out here, I was going to walk away from it all after 15 years. Like I was at such a low place and I literally nothing was happening and no one did know what to do with me. It was like this, like, we know there's something, but we don't know what to do with it. And then I like let that seep into my brain and was like, well, and I finally remember like right like 2021 and I was like, all right, God, I said I've clearly tried to do this for my so long my way.
Hmm.
I'm taking a step back because like at that point I'd fallen out of love and I didn't want to be a character online. I was like, this isn't what I fell in love with, but there has never been a plan B for me ever. And for once I was like, has the day come that I gotta think about a plan B? And I was like, because I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do except sing. Like that's all I know. And that's like I knew it exactly when I was old enough to know like, hey, what do you want to do with your life? I want to sing. And I figured it out in church one day when I was singing. I got a chance to do an offering song and I was like 6 and I was looking at everybody on the stage. I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is what I want to feel because this is the closest I feel to God. Like it's
Right.
crazy. And and so I got to that point and I got the offer to come out to Nashville and my management was like at the time was like she's only writing for other people. She's just focusing on that. She's not an artist anymore. And I was like, okay. And I come to terms. I said, I'm gonna go do this trip and then that's it. And like I said, got out here my first day, wrote What If I Don't? And it literally was like I swear I know it sounds crazy, but it was like in my ear, like the big guy was like, go and do something scary and pack up your bags. But I promise what's worth on the other side is everything more than you could have imagined. And I did. I packed up my bags, sobbing, had no idea. 75 bucks to my name, no label, thought I'd failed. And first 6 months, like my mom's the only one listening. And then there came a day I woke up and it was like, and a year and a half later, my life has changed in so many ways. It's crazy. But it ain't me, that's for sure.
I mean, here's the thing. Like you get blessed but you don't get blessed without dedication and without determination.
No, and you have to
Well,
work like
you have
I've
to work
always
hard.
you got to work you got to show up and it's not that you're out working anybody, but it's like if you work your butt off and you craft like you work at your craft, like there's room for everybody. And
Right.
it's like the scarcity mindset of like there can only be one of this one and this and like I'm like, no, if you're dope, the song is great, it'll always cut through and it's like just work your butt off. Keep your head down, be super stoked for everybody because that's their timeline and that's their wins. And
Mhm.
it's like when a horse has his blinders on and then the second it looks over, it loses the race. It's kind of how I like started to think was I was always so focused of like, why is this person and why can't I? And I was like, it's not your timeline, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and when I finally did that and I let go and I just like, I wasn't attached to an outcome for the first time. I was just like, let a song be in the world. And if that means that one person heard it and it changed something for them, then I did my job and I'm okay with that. Um, but I always wanted more than one person, obviously. And then there was a day where I was like, the comments and like how it resonated with people, I was like, oh, it hit more than one person. And that's it, that day when I realized that I was like, what? Like this was just the most broken girl in a journal page that came in with the idea of waterproof mascara because I was so sad I couldn't stop crying and I had to put waterproof makeup on. And we turned that into something that I wouldn't trade that 10 years from my life.
Good Lord. So I mean that goes to the question that's like what do you learn what have you learned about yourself over the years and what have you learned about yourself because you came from California. You can't like,
But I'm from here.
but you're from here. So it's
I
like
learned that I am a Southern girl and I love the South. I will say that. I do. I do. I do. It's in my bones. I can't run from it. But I learned that I think of the most thing I learned that I didn't ever realize like is a beautiful thing is resilience. Because and I always say this, I'm like it's a different story for a different day, but the backstory to LA and to make it out of that, I still am like, I don't know how I'm here, I'm even standing here or sitting with you because there are scenarios that I shouldn't be. And I just learned that I'm like, there are a card of hands that sometimes you get dealt that you can do nothing about. But it's what you take from those. Because I think being a human is all you have is your story. And all you can do with that story, and the reason this very short amount of time that we have here
Mhm.
is take that and hopefully it helps somebody else. And I would love for that to be on a bigger way, but I'm also, like I said, if that's just one person from that story, but I think you have to take those cards, acknowledge that they're there, heal from them, but take them and do something with them that helps them, because I think that it all happens for a reason to go and do that so that you can leave behind for the next person to go and help somebody else. Like I think it's all, I feel my best when I go and just help people. I don't feel my best when I'm always just focused on me, which is hard to do in this career. It's like we're always on our phone and we're like selfies and but I really feel my best when like I'm at a Starbucks and I'm like if that day I can buy the person's Starbucks behind me and just drive off like that, I feel the best I felt all week. Like and it's just small things of like or smiling at somebody. Like you never we're all going through something. Like and it's all equally just as like world ending for people. Like it's like that is your story, but it's don't become that and hold on to it forever. Just acknowledge it and take it and make it something beautiful.
So it sounds like you found your purpose in life.
I feel like I feel like I did. As far as like I've always known my purpose was to sing. I don't
Right.
know what capacity that was.
Right.
And I always prayed like you have the big like I'm gonna be a singer and famous like it really has nothing to do with that. Obviously, it's like it feels good, it feels fun. So you get
Right.
on a stage and it's like this high that you'll never get from anything. And it's a crazy feeling. But at the end of the day, like I'm just trying to be a vessel for something that like these ideas are not mine for some reason. It's like I couldn't tell you for 8 hours who was in that room. But when I look back and I listen to the song, I'm like, did we do that? Like, that's crazy. But it's like, I'm just trying to pull from something else because it's like whatever needs to be said. And maybe I don't get it right some days. Like, but that's what I always say is like take every session or opportunity because you could have said a line in that session that'll spark something for the next one. Like that one could be, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like you don't, I had the title waterproof mascara for months and I tried to like throw it out in pop sessions, never landed. It just took the right group of people to hear that, run, spin with it in a different way. Like, but you never know. You never know. So I found my purpose, I think, or at least hopefully. But it feels like I'm on the right track, feels like I'm aligned. And I've figured out like I just want to help people. I want to take my 10 years there, hopefully have the platform to then go and help girls and certain things for certain scenarios that, like I said, I'll explain one day, but do something with that and send my mom a check and be like, go retire and give back and give to my church or like I just want to do something and make it bigger in that aspect because it has nothing to do with me. Like I'm just stoked that I got to be a vessel that was blessed enough to take a voice and go make something out of it.
You are the first guest that I can actually say on this podcast that has shown the amount of faith that you have. And I respect the hell out of that.
Appreciate
Um, because I'm the same way. You got to have faith and you have determination, but you also got to have your foundation on your beliefs and things like that to make it through life. And you have what sounds like a very strong foundation.
It is now, but it is funny that like I was in a town that it's like, and like I said, I'm not here to like
Yeah,
anything down anybody's throat. I never force anything on anybody. It's just
correct.
what has gotten me through, and hopefully, like whether that you relate or like I don't know. Like I'm not gonna say like you have to do this to have that. Like no, it's not my job.
Right.
Uh, but I will say like I will never because I think I hid it for so long in a place that like your faith isn't really talked about or it's looked at in a different view and that's fine like however you view it whatever I don't care it's not my like your views and opinions are yours they're yours to have but for me when I ran from it for so long and I lost that kind of like I said I was trying to do it on my own I was like who am I to think that I am so big in this universe that I could make this and this happen like I let go and I think when you let go and you let God, I think and Proverbs 3:5 is like my verse that has stuck with me my whole life. And it's like it shows up at the times that I'm like, oh yeah, like do not lean on your own understanding. Don't do that. Like he will do it. But like you just I think it's a beautiful place, whether it's God, universe, whoever, like when you let go and you're just like, because life broke my heart more times than I could count. And it's like, and I was a product of two failed record deals and this and that. And I was like, I'm good with however this comes out. I think when you get to a place with, if you're doing music, anything like that, if you just let go and you're like, however this turns out, good or bad, I'm happy for it all. And I think when you, and it's hard as a human to live in that headspace, and I can't do it every day. There are days that I fall back into the other one, and it's like, I want this to do this. And when I get back into the alignment of like, if something bad happens today, I'm so stoked for that. Thank you, because what am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to take away from that? And so I just try to now like focus really on that mindset and have my faith and just be thankful for good, bad, ugly, happy, whatever. Like I'm just like, thank you.
Yeah, gratefulness is magnetic.
It is. And
It's so magnetic.
it really is. And I think you forget it's so cool to just even like look out on your balcony, like know that, hey, I have a roof over my head, or like even just I remember I think my first check of I made like $10 off of like streams, and I was like, I have a check for music. That's so cool. Like
Yeah.
whether or like sometimes it's 2 cents, and I'm like, that's dope. My journal made 2 cents today. Like I don't know. It's like music's a funny thing. It doesn't make sense at all, but it's cool to like be able to say like, wow, I do this for a living and be grateful. Or like I have those 2 cents to go buy a cheeseburger. I don't know, but gratitude and just faith, and I think that's a beautiful place to live. It is hard though. I still haven't figured out how to. I envy the people or the monks of the world that it's just like I can have nothing, and I'm like,
Can't do that. I can't.
how I'm like, I want to go have a coffee.
Like, how do you do that? How do you get through life living that way? I just don't understand it.
They have hacked whatever it is. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, and I know some people in my life that I'm just like, they wake up, same mood, just happy to be here. And I'm like, what do you know that I don't? Because I
Yeah.
need to know. I need to
Yeah. I need
know.
to know that. Like
What
what
did
fountain are you drinking
you
from?
do? What?
What fountain are you drinking from that I need to drink from?
Literally, because I'm like, I would like the fountain of youth, and I would
Yep.
like whatever that is.
Yeah.
Because there will be days where I'm like, I'm vibing, I'm in the mindset, and life's like, and I'm
Yeah.
just like,
Like, oh. So let's talk about what you just accomplished. Uh, the lineup that night apparently was Vince Gill, Amy Grant, and Brad Paisley.
it was indeed.
So you made your debut at the Grand Ole Opry. You still have the parking sign, don't you?
Oh, I think that was the most I cried the whole night was when Jim brought me the parking sign. I was like, this is so cool. I don't know why this sign, I've always like wanted the sign. I was like, I just want the
Yeah,
sign.
yeah, makes sense. That makes sense.
It's like, it's reserved for me and me.
That makes sense. I mean, listen, how much did that mean to you?
It has so much meaning for me in so many different ways. Cause it's like, yes, it is one of the, I'm gonna pull this closer. As far as like really getting accepted into a space that your heroes and your legends have stood, and you're like, I'm I'm standing in that circle. Um, that's one thing. And it's like, and I've for the last couple of weeks have been saying like I had it since I was little. Like I'd write out like dreams in my journal, and like as I got older, it's like realistic ones. Here's this, and then at the bottom, it's like may never happen, parentheses, but God, if it did, that'd be so cool. But I'm also totally fine if it doesn't. Like, and Opry was in there. Even when I was doing pop music, like I had Stagecoach on there, like all these things. And I was like, why? Because I always told people, I was like, I'm never going to Stagecoach till I'm performing. Like, and they're like, you would do Coachella before you did Stagecoach. And I'm like, no, like I will cross over. And I'd always had that. And sure enough, this year, I'm like, I'm finally going to Stagecoach, but I'm performing. And it's like, there were these goals at the bottom, and I usually just close it for the year and put it away. And I'm like, maybe when I'm 60, I'll look at it. Who knows? Um, but I just don't get attached to them because I'm just like, I don't, at the end of the year, I don't want to look at it and be like, I failed because like, it's just, it's really awesome. And it's like dream as big as you can because and shoot for the stars because you'll land on the moon is always like there is no dream that's too big. Like people
Right.
do crazy things and it's like, but it probably started off as like that'll never happen. So it was as far as like knowing that that was on my bucket list for years and like my parents getting to be there and then like just figuring out that Vince, Brad, Amy are like all on the side of the stage and I'm just like, did I really like because also it was crazy because I was freaking out that Billy Anderson was there and I was like, oh my God, before even knowing Mr. Paisley was there because I was like he wrote one of my favorite songs that shaped my whole way of music was Whiskey Lullaby.
Right.
It's like, which is so funny because like a couple weeks before that, I just like interpolated one of like Whiskey Lullaby for one of my songs. So, which I went back and forth that a whole couple weeks of like trying to figure out if I did that song, if not, like, so when I got there and I realized like I wasn't doing it and Bill was there, and then I turned around and Brad pays, I was like, no, I was just like, but it's crazy because it's like that song that shaped me and how I viewed music. And like, really, when I was old enough to know like what the story was, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then full circle of like, and not to mention like Brad Paisley was one of my first country concerts, Kelly Pickler and Taylor and Tick outfits, like all the way back to then, it just was like this really weird full circle moment that I was just like, oh wow, like I like it was supposed to be this somehow. I just would you can't really see it when you're in it until you're looking at all the dominoes a couple years later and you're like, oh my God. Like I was so hell bent on like I was like what tunnel vision on one thing, not realizing that all of this was adding up to this. And it's just like I remember the day they like had called and I was happy if all I got to do was sit there and sing in front of all the board members and I was like, this is so cool that I even get to do this. I got a tour and I was happier than ever to just know that I got to sing backstage and let them hear some of my songs. And I was like, no outcome, no attachment. Like that was cool. And then 9 months later, it's like, not only am I getting it, but then Chris Young calls and I'm like, what? Like, it just wasn't, and like I keep saying, I'm just like the only proof I have to convince myself that that happened is videos and pictures, because I sure as heck don't think that that is my life. I'm really like
So now do you feel at home now in country music?
I felt at home whether or not it was because when I got back, like I think like it was scary to come here and like not know anybody and people thought that I was from LA, which is fine, but it was like oh, like you're just gonna cross over and that I get it. Like I
Right.
understand. It was just like, but I still felt so welcome in the community when I instantly got here. And I was like, just show up and do what you do best and write a song. Like that's what country music's all about. And for some reason, what if I don't? And like, because I never gotten to come out and write country music, and I always wanted to. And but it was so funny. It was inherently in all of my pop music. There are like these country melodies that I just couldn't. It's like built into the DNA of who I am. So it was like I just got to come out. Nobody was telling me to like make this song today that sounds like this, and this, and like the typical A&Ring. But I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. But okay. And I was so focused on like trying to make all these things and like a concept that was crazy and I just got to come here and write that song that day and I was like, oh wow, that's the most I've ever sounded like myself ever. And it's like, and no one was telling me what to do or how to sing it. I just came in and was just like this melody, and then Seth and Phil and Lindsay, like, and by the time it was all said and done, and I was just like, why have I not been here? This is so awesome. Like, and then to learn like people play live instruments. This isn't just going to be programmed on a computer, and like the process of going into the studio and seeing how they chart it out and like it just always felt like home. But and I was like I said to be welcomed officially into country music on that level and know that what an honor that is like I'll never take that for granted. It's the coolest day of my life because I'm like I'm stoked that you saw it in there and you heard it in the music because that to me I'm just like just happy to be here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. So that was I have not, and like I had to go right back on the road, and like I didn't get to process a lot of things, and like my unfortunately my Mimi, like, which in true Mimi fashion, she had waited, but that morning I didn't know that she got like, they're like she's got about 24 hours, and nobody told me because it was Opry Day.
Right.
So when I woke up the next day and she'd passed, and but my Mimi literally, it was so funny, for years of my life she was like, you're gonna make it big when you're at the Opry. And I was like, Mimi, I'm in LA. Like, she's like, when you just stop doing it your way and do it God's way, he has you stepping into that Opry. Sure enough, this woman held out till that night. And then I was like, that's so like you. I'm like, I'm so mad at you, but also like, but it was so there was just so much that like I that night will, and the day that I leave this earth, like I'll remember it for the rest of my life. And I'll remember the fact that in sound check I spilled tea everywhere on the stage and I wanted to crumble. Yeah, yeah. It's so Shaylen of me. I was like, I knocked over my whole thing and I was like,
That is so Shaylen of you. It's
oh my
okay.
God. And then told Mr. Paisley I pooped my pants, and I was just like, this is so Shaylen.
My God.
You're so Shaylen.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I
It's
looked at
you.
the
It's the
stage.
authentic you.
I looked at the music director and I said, has anyone spilled tea at sound check? He goes, I don't think so. Oh God. I was like, is this a bad moment?
He could have lied. He could have lied and been like, maybe once or twice.
Happens all the time. He's like, not when I've been here. And I'm like, how many years is that? And he's like, well, it's been about like 17. I was like,
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I was truly like, this is it. I might as well. We're not doing it.
Good Lord. One more question, and then we can do a quick game for socials. But one more question. The question is, what advice do you want to give to up and coming artists?
Oof, so much, so little time.
I know.
We'll say this. I will say trust, no matter if you're starting out and you don't know to trust. Like, there's gonna be this little voice in whatever career path you're following. Like, it's always this little voice in you that's like, if you walk away and you know there's a song that it's like, I don't know if in 10 years that'll be a song that there's something about it. But if you know that there's something magical in there, and it's, if you feel that, somebody else is gonna feel it. Um, Trust that. And if you, and people, if they fight you on it, at least I will say in this chapter of my life, and I think I said it earlier, of like, if I put out a song and I was like, this is, I feel it, and it dies in the water, I at least can say that was my vision, and I am proud to know that at least if it failed, it's all me. That was me. Don't let anybody tell you, and it's hard. It's like you're watching social media or this and trying to like see like what's happening and try to do your variation of that, which is fine. That's like, that's how art is made in general.
Right.
It's like, just show up as you because you're enough. And if I could have just remembered that, or ever like even known that for up until these last 2 years of my life, just always remember you're enough. And there is like, there's value in your magic and everything, and the way you write a song or the way you sing, like, might not be some people's cup of tea. That's fine. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But a lot of the times when you do something on a massive scale, most likely 50-50 of like, they love you, they don't. And that is something that you have to be okay with. Like, and I was like, if I like it, then I don't really care. Like, I don't care who else likes it because I love it. And that's the art I created, and it wasn't altered. And it's just exactly what it was the day I created it. So I think if I could tell anybody that, like, and to listen to that voice, because it's there for a reason. It's built into all of us. I think we just always are like, but I got to listen to this person because they know this person. I'm like, that's great, do it. But also, I'm like, you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
You always do. So don't push it down, because mine was like, yeah.
That's probably the best advice anyone can give you in life in general.
You
And
are
that's
enough, my friend. You are enough. There's a reason you're here. Your thumbprint, no one has it. Your face, no one has it. You're uniquely you. And that's all you need.
and that, my friends, is straight from the mouth of Shaylen.
Unhinged.
Unhinged.
Watch out.